Hello, soulmates. Welcome to another learning event. And so, as you can see by the slide that we have today, is that this month we're going to be talking about self-evaluation. So, I would love to just welcome you to come along on this extraordinary journey with me. And it is indeed a journey of self-evaluation to your purpose. You know, in our lives, we find ourselves at a crossroad, and most of the time we're unsure of which path to take. Sometimes we feel lost. I know I certainly have. We feel like we don't have a focus. Sometimes we even feel restless, lethargic, and we are yearning for a sense of purpose or direction. But what if I told you that the answers that you're looking for, the direction that you feel like you're missing, lies right inside of you? So you don't really have to go that far to find it. Our learning theme for this month is going to be filled with empathy and understanding to help guide you on this journey of self discovery and introspection. Because remember, we talked about this. This is one of the key components to being able to tap into your purpose. So, by way of introduction, I want you to know that the purpose of this learning event, because you guys know I'm extremely intentional, is not just to provide you with tools for self evaluation, but I want to be able to foster a nurturing and safe space where you can explore the depths of who you are safely without judgment. I want you to know that I understand that delving into self reflection is not always easy. And to be quite honest with you, it's just downright hard sometimes. It requires courage to confront our fears, to confront and look at our dreams and our strengths, and yes, even our limitations. Therefore, we're going to approach this journey with empathy, and you guys know I always say with some grace. We're going to give some mercy and grace to ourselves. And we're going to acknowledge that each of us, each of our path to self-discovery is just as unique as we are. So this is not a one size fit all type deal. So, what is my aim? What is the objective, right? The objective is to help you uncover your potential, that potential that's been lying dormant in you for sometimes many years. My aim is to help you discover your passion and, yes, indeed, to find your purpose. I'm going to help you navigate through those emotions and thoughts and experiences that you're having so that you can understand what truly drives you. And I can tell you that by the end of this journey, this month, I know that you will have a deeper understanding of yourself and a clearer vision of your life's purpose. See, here's the thing. If you're ready to embark on this journey of self discovery, self evaluation, and it is a transformational journey, which means you're not going to stay the same. You're going to transform. I want to welcome you to just come on into this process with open arms, ready to receive, an open mind, ready to hear, and most importantly, an open heart, ready to transform, ready to feel, ready to be shifted. Because I want you to remember that this journey is going to be challenging, but I want you to be assured that you are not alone. I'm here with you every step of the way, right alongside you. And you have a team, a community of people here that are going through the same journey, and they're cheering you on as well. So let's get this journey started together, and let's discover and uncover this extraordinary queen or king that you were always meant to be. And I'm going to start a little bit by just sharing a little bit of my story, just so that you understand that I'm not asking you to do anything that I haven't done myself. If you haven't had an opportunity to read the My Story part in the community, I welcome you to do so. And the reason why I welcome you to do so is because it was not easy for me to share. I come from a background and a family upbringing where your business is your business. So I have never been one of those people that have been super open about my personal business. I just felt like it's my business, particularly my struggles. And so sharing that it really did require for me to take some risk, and I did. And in order to do that, though, I had to go on this journey of self evaluation, exactly like I'm telling you. So, part of my story is that for many years, I worked in behavioral health and um, married my college sweetheart, had four wonderful babies who are now not babies anymore. My babies are having babies. Well, I have one grandchild. Um, but my life was pretty much set, so I thought. And I call it in my story my plan A. This was my plan A. I checked the boxes. I did the things that I was supposed to do. I was just adamant about being a good wife, a good mother. Went to school, first person in my immediate family to go to college to get a degree. All of that. So I checked the boxes, and I was living my purpose. So I thought. And so after many years of marriage, and I want to say it was probably around year 28 or 29, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer, terminal. And so therein was the crux of my whole plan A, and it blew up right in my face. And so after 31 years of marriage, I found myself um, single, trying to figure out my life, trying to repair my heart, trying to redefine who I was. And that's difficult when you're over 50. Um, so I want you to understand that, if nothing else, this journey that I'm taking you on is a journey that I myself have taken and really had to tap in to figure out what my plan B looked like. And what I really discovered was that while I thought I was living my purpose, I was really still hiding. I was still really just wrapping myself up in the expectations of everybody around me. What it meant to be a wife, what it meant to be a mother, what it meant to be a businesswoman, what it meant to be a leader, what it meant to be a family member, whatever those titles are that we all live with. I had wrapped myself up and cloaked myself so tightly into who I was to everybody else, and really had not taken the time to just drill down and figure out who I was and what was this life about for me? What was I really called for? So, I am not telling you to do anything that I myself have not done and I'm still doing. Okay, so what is self evaluation? What do I mean when I say that? At its core, at its simplest, basic crux, the simple version of self evaluation, it's just a reflective process that allows you to look inside introspectively and be able to assess and identify your strengths and your weaknesses, to take a good look at your values, your behaviors, and what motivates you. When self evaluation is done right, it can be a transformative process. It's one of those things that will guide us toward our personal growth, and also it will give us greater self awareness. So, significance. Why is that important? Why is that so important? Because, first of all, somebody might say, well, it's me. Of course, I know myself. And I would beg to differ. You see, the significance of self evaluation is that it is so critical to personal development. We cannot grow what we don't know. And so it is through the process of evaluating ourselves that we develop a deeper understanding of who we are and sometimes even why we do what we do. This assessment or evaluation allows us to identify the areas of improvement. What do we need to get better at? But even more importantly, it helps us to recognize our strengths because sometimes we are so familiar with our weaknesses and what we do wrong. And if I said to you, tell me 10 things that you need to change or 10 things that are not right, you probably wouldn't have a lot of difficulty going through that list. But if I said, tell me 10 things that are amazing about you, 10 things that you are excellent at, you might find that that's a bit more challenging than talking about what's wrong. So self evaluation helps us look at those strengths, but it also helps us to celebrate our strengths, which most of the time we struggle with that, particularly as women. Or an effective self evaluation, because you can do self evaluation like anything. You can do it right or you can do it wrong. And I shudder sometimes because sometimes people will say, yes, I know myself. I've evaluated myself. I've taken the time to understand me. And it only takes you a few minutes to talk to them to realize that they have such blind spots. There are so many things about themselves that they do not see. Sometimes it's that they are so amazing and they don't know it. But unfortunately, sometimes they're amazing in their own eyes and they don't realize that this is actually something that they struggle with. So, an effective self evaluation consists of a few key elements. The first, and probably to me the most important, is it requires honesty. You have got to be willing to look at yourself objectively and be willing and courageous enough to admit your flaws without self deprecation. In other words, you can say what's wrong with you without condemning yourself or trashing yourself. But you got to be able to take that honest look and say, you know what? I am always late. That's true. I do struggle with that. You know what? I do overspend. I really do have an issue with budgeting and being impulsive. And I really don't have the discipline that I need for this season of my life. It's being able to take that honest look. Next, it requires consistency. Yeesh. Yeah, regular self evaluation enables us to monitor our progress. And so it means it's something that we need to do on a regular basis. This is not a one and done thing. I did self evaluation last Thursday at 3 p.m., and so I'm good for the rest of the year. Not. No. Self evaluation is something that we do on a regular basis. Anytime I have an issue, I'll tell you personally for me, let's say there's a conflict in the workplace or the family or whatever it might be. The first thing I do is evaluate me. The first thing I do. Before I say this is what it is, I first check me and say, okay, what was my part of that story? What could I have done better? What did I do? What didn't I do? So it's a consistency that we need to have with self evaluating. And the last thing is it requires action. We can't just assess and evaluate and analyze and reflect and do this stuff over and over and over again ad nauseum and never do anything about the information that we get. The big part about self-evaluation is that something should be happening after that. There should be some plans, some changes made, some reinforcing if they are really good things. So it requires some action as well to be effective. Self-evaluation, it'll naturally lead to, if it's done effectively, self-awareness, which allows us to understand our own internal states, our preferences, our behaviors, looking first at ourselves, not so much looking outward at who they did this and they of that. No. Self-awareness means I'm checking me. I'm really checking in with the only thing that I can really control, which is me. So effective self evaluation will result in good, solid self awareness. This awareness is what plays such an important role in identifying our strengths and weaknesses. The ability to recognize those aspects is what helps us to live more effectively because it helps to inform our decision making process and it helps us with interpersonal relationships. So, this self awareness bleeds into every part of our lives. It is just that critical. So, what are some methods? Because I'm always trying to give you tangible stuff. What are some methods of self evaluation? So, one thing that you could use, and one thing that I do, and one thing that if you're in this community, you have available to you at no cost is I journal. We have a journal in this community called the Living My Best Life Journal. And it's a sort of self directed, but it has questions, self directed writing journal that sort of gives you a prompt so that you can get started. Because sometimes when you're sitting down with a blank piece of paper, it's difficult to decide where to start. So, journaling is a great way to engage in self evaluation. Self-reflective questions, asking yourself the questions, why, but why? And we talked about that in our last series of the learning events when we talked about fear and we talked about the fear analysis questions. But why? I feel this way, but why? So asking yourself some good self-reflective questions is a great method of self-evaluation. Getting feedback from others, but credible others. Remember, getting feedback from individuals that you know are healthy enough to give you valuable information. People that are not toxic, people that do not have an agenda, people that are not engaged in the process of either tearing you down or keeping you where you were. So finding credible others and getting some feedback. And having a stiff enough chin to take that feedback. That's the other thing. And understand I'm saying feedback and not criticism. Because you can tell me something about myself in such a way that I can hear it and I can receive it. Or you can say it in such a way that it tears me down and I'm going to be automatically resistant. So find individuals that can give you feedback and not criticism. You can even do professional assessments. And for those of you that might be interested in that, I do have some resources, tons of resources, where you can take assessments from everything from personality assessments to workplace happiness assessments, all of those kind of things. So those are some of the methods. I want you to know that no matter what method you choose, the key to this approach is to keep an open mind and be willing to learn and grow. Be willing and prepared to hear some things that you may not necessarily want to hear. Um, or hear some things that, oh my goodness, it completely surprises you because you don't realize that people see you in that way. And that's always a super cool thing as well. So, but with anything, self-evaluation has its challenges. A common barrier, one of the most significant barriers, is denial or resistance to accepting our weaknesses. Y'all, sometimes we just have a difficult time hearing about our stuff, but it is our stuff. And sometimes we're so defensive, or sometimes we've been just traumatized or hurt or emotionally abused that we're just naturally pushing back on anything that's not positive. But I want you to know that the truest sense of love is to be able to communicate to someone honestly and to say to them what is true. And so sometimes we're naturally resistant to hearing about us, especially if it's something we didn't know, but more importantly, something we do know, but we have a hard time with. So we have some shame and guilt regarding that. We know, I know I overspend. I know I have an issue with my temper. And then when somebody says it to you because you're already grappling with that in a way that's probably not healthy because you're feeling shame about it, we push back because we're defending ourselves. And that's completely natural. But do understand, keep an open mind, open heart, that is something I might push back when somebody says that. And so just know that. Another challenge that we might have is lack of time. Sometimes we're so freaking busy, we don't even have time to sit with ourselves. And that is one of the things that I hope in this community that I just snatch you right out of. You can't afford, some people say, I can't afford to take the time. You can't afford not to take the time. You have to make the time. You have to be intentional about taking the time to sit with yourself and to be able to do some of this deep reflective work that you need to do. And if you don't, nothing will change. Your life will stay the same. Sometimes we don't have knowledge about the process. That's why you're here. That's what we're doing right now. It's called learning, because I want to equip you with some knowledge and information about how to engage in a self evaluative process. And then sometimes, whew, we have the fear of the consequences of self discovery. Sometimes, y'all, we have built a house of cards, and it's like, I can't hear anything else. I can't go there. I don't want to uncover that. I can't take that band-aid off. It's too painful. I don't even know if I'll make it through. So I'll just keep piling stuff over it. I'll keep shoving it to the side, putting it in the corner, and I'll try to go on as if it's not there. Um, but sis, brother, it's there. We can smell the stench. Just because you shove it in the corner does not mean it's gone. It's still there. And so sometimes we're just afraid to know and to dig there and to go there. And I'm going to tell you, as I said when we started this, I'm speaking to you with a lot of empathy and grace, because I too had the same problem. I really felt like it is what it is. Keep it moving. But what I will say to you is that it doesn't go anywhere. And left unprocessed and unrecognized and undealt with, um, you're going to have a difficult time walking in purpose when you're dragging along the baggage and the anchors and the ball and chain from your past. Now, we talked about the challenges. Let's get that out of the way. But come on, y'all. Let's talk about the benefits. There are so many benefits to self evaluation. You guys, it will enhance your self awareness. Know thyself. Know thyself. Know you. You have the right to know you. It's going to help you with your personal growth. You can't grow what you don't know. You have to be able to recognize a thing before you can change a thing. And so it's so important. It's going to improve your decision making, and it's going to help you to make good goals, to set good goals. It's difficult to set goals when you don't have that good solid awareness. By understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, you're better equipped. You're better equipped to have realistic goals. Hey, like, if one of my goals is to sing like Beyonce, like, I no, yeah, not today, not next week, and maybe not even next year. Um, a self-evaluation process will let me know that I can hold a note, but not enough to, yeah. And there's some people in this community that I can think of, and I'm thinking about Teresa right off the bat, but that can sing. I'm not one of them. And it's good to just know that about yourself. I will not be setting a goal to go on a Renaissance tour anytime soon, because I know that's not my thing. That's not my strength. Okay? Important stuff. So it's important. It is so important because it is crucial. If you're here, if you're wanting to discover your purpose, the reason why I talked about fear first. Let's look at fear in the eye, and let's go ahead and acknowledge that, because fear will actually stop you from doing what we're talking about now, and that's evaluating yourself. But shortly, right after fear, self-evaluation is one of the very early steps that you need to take in order to discover your purpose. You need to have a deep understanding of yourself that comes from self evaluation, because that's going to help you identify what really matters to you, which is going to help guide you towards your purpose, right? So here's a little quote that I saw that I thought was relevant. Life is from the inside out. When you shift on the inside, life shifts on the outside. And so when I read that, what I really thought about is that so many people are trying to live from the outside in. They're trying to look rich. They're trying to look happy. They're trying to look satisfied. Um, they're trying to give off the appearance of joy, but it's from the outside and it's not from the inside. And so, what I'll tell you is that if you take care of the business on the inside, everything shifts from the outside. Sometimes it's not about what you're trying to have. Let's say you're wanting to have a very successful business. My question is, have you become the person that you need to be to have the business? You're wanting to get the thing, but have you become the person that can handle that can steward that? Um, we've got to start going inside first. Take care of that business and understanding that everything else lines up once we've taken care of that business. Okay? So, you guys, thank you so much for joining this learning event this week. I want you to continue to stay engaged in the community. We are going to, in the next few weeks, start looking at some of the rosters. My intention for this community is for it to be engaging and for it to be collaborative. So, not really all that interested in hall monitors. So, we're going to be looking at that because some of you have been super engaged, and I need to make sure that we have surrounded you and surrounded ourselves with people that are committed to this process. So, stay engaged in the community. We'll have some other activities going on throughout this week. Of course, we missed you guys last week with Labor Day, but stay engaged and listen. Remember, it is your time now to emerge and to be all that you were called to be. Take care, you guys. See you next time.